gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police, but I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, YouTube? It's a Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's get into the video.
Developing right now, an officer-involved shooting ends in an arrest. A woman accused of stabbing two people before Atlanta police opened fire. Now, it is the second police-involved shooting in Atlanta this week. Our Megan Packer live with how this all unfolded. Megan.
Well, Karen, I can tell you this all started last night with a call for officers to respond to a fight here at the Greyhound bus station on Forsyth Street. It ended with two people stabbed and police shooting a suspect. Atlanta police and the GBI descended upon the scene on Forsyth Street in downtown Atlanta around 10:30 Thursday night. It all started with a call for officers to respond to a fight with a weapon at the Greyhound bus station.
And granted, the Greyhound has always been kind of sketchy. I've ridden the Greyhound multiple times. A lot of people smell like urine on the Greyhound. So it's definitely like the Rolling Stone type transportation. Somebody who is, you know, nomadic, but usually they don't really have the means to take another mode of transportation. And all in all, you could sum it up and say, hey, you know, the Greyhound's kind of ratchet. It is kind of ratchet. It is kind of ratchet. Okay. All types of different people. I've had, you know, good and bad experiences on the Greyhound, so I'm not trying to knock the Greyhound. Okay. But what I will say though is, it reminds me of another story where a woman had a knife and was about to stab somebody. Oh yeah, Ma'Khia Bryant. Okay, this is a very similar situation. Unfortunately, Ma'Khia died, but in this situation, the woman lived. So, you know, we can take that for what it is.
A man and woman had been stabbed inside the station. Outside, an Atlanta police officer saw the suspect, a woman, holding knives.
The officer approached that person and started giving verbal commands, and that person was armed at that particular point with two knives in their hand. The officer continued to give commands to drop the knife, and the subject just would not do that.
With the woman not obeying.
So she could have lost her life. This could have been another Laquan McDonald situation. I mean, they could have killed her. But they didn't. And that's what normally happens. Most of the time when the police are shoot people, they don't die. Now, sometimes they dump the whole clip in them. I mean, that's wild to me. Definitely. But man, it's like, if you're running at the police with a knife, you have no fear.
And getting closer, the officer shot her and took her into custody. Police say she and the two stabbing victims were in stable condition. Greyhound released a statement saying, in part, "We are devastated by the events that occurred yesterday evening at our Atlanta station, as the safety and security of our customers and team members is our top priority." The company says it's working closely with authorities and no Greyhound employees were injured. The GBI now investigates this 12th officer-involved shooting of 2022.
We never want to have to use force, but when we have those situations to where we're placed.
And they're saying it like the officers have a choice. No. 12 officer-involved shootings in 2022, and really there hasn't been like a big uproar in these shootings. Why? Because most of them, as a matter of fact, all of them are justified. So we gotta get past this. Just because an officer discharges their weapon, it automatically means that, oh, they were trying to kill him, or it was a racist officer or whatnot. Okay, the thing that's saving Atlanta is a lot of their officers are black, so it can't be really racist. You can't say, oh, it was racist, it was this, because a lot of the officers are black. But in the instances where the officers weren't black, like with Rashard Brooks, it's a whole huge racist situation. Like, if this woman died, would people say, oh, well, she had a knife, but you didn't have to kill her? You know, just like they did with Rashad. I mean, who knows?
Placed in those unfortunate situations, we do the best we can to resolve them.
And not only is this the 12th police shooting the GBI has been called to investigate so far in this year, but it's the 4th in the state this week alone. So already a very busy start to 2022 for GBI agents. They're sitting at more officer-involved shootings than this time last year. Reporting in downtown Atlanta, I'm Megan Packer, CBS 46 News.
Yeah, breaking news right now. A shooting involving Atlanta police happened last night at a downtown bus station.
CBS 46's Megan Packer's live at Grady Hospital this morning. Megan, what are you learning about this?
Robin Grabier, this happened around 10:30 last night at a Greyhound bus station on Forsyth Street. Officers were called out after 2 people had been stabbed. When officers got to the scene, they found a man and woman who had been stabbed inside of that station. This was on Forsyth Street, and they also encountered a woman armed with 2 knives who they say would not listen to their commands to drop the weapons. As she got closer, an officer opened fire and shot her. That suspect, as well as the 2 victims who were stabbed, are all in stable condition right now. Police say the 2 victims were stabbed inside of the Greyhound station, and then the encounter with the suspect when the officer shot the woman happened outside of the station. The GBI was called in to investigate. Here's a little bit more of how police described exactly what happened.
The officer approached that person and started giving verbal commands, and that person was armed at that particular point with 2 knives in their hand. The officer continued to give commands to drop the knife, and the subject just would not do that.
Sounds literally exactly the same as the Ma'Khia Bryant situation. He told her, drop the knife, drop the knife, drop the knife. She didn't drop the knife. She got shot. Only difference is she died and this woman lived.
And now the officer who opened fire with...
I mean, I wonder if LeBron is going to tweet, hey, you're next. Probably not.
Not injured. We will pass along more information as we learn additional details from the GBI throughout the morning. That's the latest here at Grady Hospital. Megan Packer, CBS 46 News.
There is a new twist in a cheating scandal involving Atlanta Public School employees. The former principal of Dobbs Elementary is now asking to avoid prison time. Dana Evans was one of nearly 36 educators who were convicted or pleaded guilty to cheating on state standardized tests.
So, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a huge Atlanta cheating scandal. They were changing the answers on the Scantrons, all types of stuff, because they wanted these kids to pass. Because the better the schools do in testing, the more funding they get. So now they're starting to push a trend where, okay, send more funds into the, schools that are struggling. So now you have like nice facilities, but the kids are still struggling. This is a huge deal. This is a huge deal. Do they deserve prison time? Yeah, probably, a few years, sit down for a little bit. But I get why they were doing it. I really do. Because a lot of times, man, these kids is coming from homes where there's no way they're going to even pay attention in class. Like, I've been through it before. Y'all have seen the stories on these schools in Fulton County and Decatur, DeKalb County. School shootings, fights everywhere. There are big issues going on in these schools. I mean, how could they focus? How could they sit down for 3-4 hours and take a test and bubble in some answers when most of them haven't been paying attention the whole year?
in the early 2000s. Evans never confessed and says it was others at her school who cheated, not her. She's now asking a judge to let her serve her sentence on probation.
New at 6, for the first time, we are hearing from a principal at the center of that Atlanta public schools cheating scandal. It's been 10 years since the GBI charged a group of educators, but this principal tells Channel 2's Dave Huddleston she didn't do anything wrong.
I loved education, and I was really good at it.
For the first time, we're hearing from Dr. Dana Evans, former principal at Dobbs Elementary. She's one of the dozens of teachers accused in the 2009 APS cheating scandal. She has consistently said she didn't cheat and was unaware some of her teachers were.
I don't know what they've got on her, honestly. This is what she's saying. It's hard for me to believe that she wasn't in on it. But, you know, she's the principal, so the majority of the responsibility lies on her. So I have no problem with her, you know, being on probation or anything like that. I mean, you're letting these super gremlins out and they armed robbery, this, that, like, bruh, just let her. You know, it's a serious crime, right? Non-violent. She shouldn't be able to be an educator anymore, whatnot. She's going to have to find a new profession. But give her, you know, give her an ankle monitor. Put her on house arrest or something. Where she can only restricted house arrest. She can only go to work and come back home. Like, free her. This is where I say, yo, free her, bro. Free her.
Did you not know it was happening?
The teachers who confessed to cheating at my school, and it was 3 people who confessed to cheating, hid it from me. And they testified to that in court.
But a jury found Evans guilty.
The hardest part for me, though, is it's not even going to jail and being convicted and even being accused. It's the notion that I harmed children.
The scandal made national headlines.
Every way I was murdered.
And inspired film director Jody Gomes to make the documentary One Child Left Behind, the untold Atlanta cheating scandal.
I couldn't figure out how we were treating educators as modern-day mafia.
Gomes says 10 years after the APS scandal, we find ourselves once again in the middle of another test cheating scandal. Evans plans to go to court in June to ask for a new trial. She's now a therapist helping victims through traumatic events. And the hundreds of victims.
Wow. And this is where I give a lot of these sisters credit, man. The adaptability. She went from being a principal to a therapist. Like, they hustling, man. And this is where a lot of brothers are falling behind the 8 ball. There's obviously a lot of brothers doing great things, but you know, we see how these super gremlins are acting on this channel. We need to step up our game, and I'm saying this seriously. You know, I keep it fair. We go in on the sisters when we have to. We go in on brothers when we got to. I mean, she's able to overcome something like this where she has to serve jail time and whatnot. We should be able to too. You know, I don't want to hear the institutionalized talk. Well, I'm conditioned this way because of prison. Look, man, you have to be strong enough to adapt.
Children caught up in the cheating scandal will soon graduate from Atlanta public schools.
It's hard to believe it's been 10 years as Dave Huddleston joins us. 11 educators convicted, Dave. Most of the students have now graduated, but the school district is still helping the other.
Have they? Are you sure they graduated? Are you sure?
There's a decade later.
Yeah, there are more than 3,000 students who were caught up in the scandal. The remaining 800 will graduate soon. The district says they continue to serve those students through independent learning plans, tutoring, and academic wraparound services through a program called Target 2020.
Wraparound? That sounds like a mortgage.
One initiative. The film debuts at an Atlanta Film Festival in August.
Because the true victims here are the students.
Dave,
thank you.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Guess what? I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. But I can get shot anywhere.
So it is
what it is.